I'll admit it that the initial reason I got interested in consciousness is because every time I would talk to an attractive girl, I felt like my IQ dropped like 70 points, and it really bothered me. And so I got interested in psychology, like what's happening. And then I got interested in consciousness. And then I ended up taking a course in Harvard called Mind Brain Consciousness. I studied it at my college, but it was the most important thing and the most freeing thing I ever discovered. And by the way, who are you living your life on behalf of? Have you ever questioned your identity or your conclusions about who you are that were just handed to you? If you haven't, then this video is for you. Or if you just love consciousness and the concept of it, this video is for you. We're going to explore it. This was the most valuable thing I ever found, the most freeing thing I ever found, and I'm going to bestow that finding onto you in this video. Step one is first realizing you are consciousness, recognizing that you are consciousness. And this is subject to change later in the journey, but just for now, at the beginning stages, it's about recognizing yourself as consciousness. How do we do this? So I want you to consider the possibility that removing consciousness and removing yourself are equivalent statements. So, for example, keep your body here, keep the world here, but remove consciousness. Or just take that same situation, but just remove you, kill you. Aren't those two the same experience? Is it possible that you are consciousness? Some people find themselves in their thoughts. That one's really easy to just destroy that notion because you have 70,000 thoughts every single day. Do you come into existence and disappear 70,000 times in the day? No, you do not. So what's aware of those thoughts? How do you know that those thoughts are happening? What's the one thing that's been the same ever since you were a baby? Because obviously you've changed, you've grown, you've overcome, you've become self-reliant, but there is one thing that has stayed completely consistent with no change whatsoever, not even an inch or a particle. What is that? It's here. That would be consciousness. And in consciousness, if you remove consciousness, you remove all of this experience that you're currently having. So please seriously consider right now in this experience that what you are, when I say you, I'm referring to the formless but conscious element in your experience currently. Consciousness itself is hearing this. Now you have discovered that you are consciousness. Chew on this as long as you need. After this video ends, think about it throughout your day and really consider, look at your experience, your present experience with your whole being. Look with me now. Look directly at your entire experience with your whole being and check what makes more sense. Are you an idea of what you think you are? Or are you the consciousness that's here right now hearing these words, that's aware of every particle of your being? And not one particle of experience is outside of this consciousness, this raw perceptual aliveness that is here. Really look, just for a second. And now that that's happened, and if you didn't encounter a perceptual shift, then perhaps just chew on this. Just let it soak in. Let it do the work. What's already the case is already the case, but we digress. The next thing is to recognize the difference between thought and consciousness, because thinking has limitations applied to it. Previously, we knew ourselves through referential thought, picturing ourselves as a body, as a person, as a thing that has excess or has lack. But notice that thought is limited. Just like anytime you hear a song, the music is limited to what sound waves can produce on your ears. When you read a book, the content of the book is limited to what can be printed on the page. When you have a thought, thinking is limited to the thought that your human mind, 3 pounds of meat, can produce. But consciousness is not limited in the same way. Consciousness is what knows thought, and it's the only thing you can know directly, whereas thinking knows things through inference, boundary, reference, and time. In other words, just believing it. Whereas consciousness is here as you and has a knowing quality. It is a knowing quality itself. So once you can recognize that the knowing of consciousness overpowers the knowing of thought, then you can start having some real fun. So now what we're going to explore is the power of your consciousness now, and check with me in your direct experience as we go through. So thinking, you can believe certain people or you cannot believe them. Yeah. You can trust someone. If you really want to trust what someone says, you need that double blind, peer-reviewed scientific study published by an authoritative paper. Consciousness doesn't work that way. Consciousness has its own authority of truth. Just like if I were to ask you, are you alive right now? Are you awake alive? And you say yes. That yes doesn't come from a scientific peer-reviewed study. You didn't need to tap someone on the shoulder and ask them if I'm alive. All you had to do was check consciousness, because consciousness has its own authority. It has maximum authority. You, consciousness, have the authority of being real and being reality. And you have that right now, right here, in the form of this current experience. And so while it might not seem like much right now, because it's just whatever, just experience of a YouTube video, that level of authority is not found anywhere else. So keep going with it, and it'll keep getting better and better. The next thing is that, let's see what's next on the list. Oh yeah, sanity. So because this is unwavering truth and reality, standing on its own as you, it has a quality of sanity. Because it's true, even though it might not be a scientific study, which has like specific conclusions to it, at least it's consistent, real, true, always present in you and shared by all people. And because of that, consciousness is sanity itself, and it never leaves your side. The world is insane, and we can always retreat into our present experience of conscious awareness to find sanity again. Obviously, you need science for other things, but just for baseline sanity. The next thing is untouchability. When you get wet, when you jump into a pool, when it's a rainstorm, does your consciousness also get soaked? Or does it stay completely dry? The thing that's somehow protected from any external influence. When you feel pain, does the knowing quality of consciousness get hurt? While your body might get hurt, or your emotions might be painful, the clear knowing quality right here, which is with you, has survived everything. It has survived all of those moments of your life that anyone would have thought would have scarred you, right? Because it's completely untouchable. It doesn't mean you don't feel pain or suffering, but it means that when those things go, consciousness is completely pure and completely unblemished. After all that stuff that happened to it, you'd think it'd at least have one little like stain on it. I mean, like with an iPhone, you get a new iPhone without a screen protector, you touch it once and there's like a fingerprint stain on it. But there's not a single fingerprint stain on the consciousness that's here listening to this. So in that sense, it's a space of purity, innocence, and what's some other good words for it? Cleanness and openness, untouchableness. Next, it's intimacy and love. So check in your experience now and try and see if you can find the distance between yourself and your consciousness. And again, we're really looking with our whole being. Look with everything you have. Put everything aside for just a second to see, okay, wait, how far is consciousness from me? What's the distance? And what you might find is you might find an absence of distance. There's no distance. As Rupert Spira says, closer than close. It's at where you're at. Every step is a step away because it's at where you're at. You can't give me directions to consciousness, just like you can't give me directions to this chair. And because it's so close, by looking at it and recognizing it as yourself, it has a quality of closeness, of relief, of intimacy. The type of intimacy that I believe people search for in relationships and never truly quite find. But you can find it here in your experience. And it's also love because it's unconditionally there in the same condition and completely accepting. It's not conditionally accepting. Not to say you don't need human relationships as well, but if you don't have this, you're probably out of luck. There's going to be something that wants something more at all times. So before we go, I'd like you to do something here to more strongly solidify this, or should I say, solidify the absence of thinking you're not consciousness, because it's always here by default as you, which is feel into your body. And typically we have a felt sense of separation and needing to protect something in the body at all times. But if you really are consciousness, which means you're not this body, you are consciousness, the presence of raw, alive awakeness. Feel that as your body for a second here. The sense of density and center pointness that comes with your body right now, cool. We don't have to interfere with that. But just notice that something knows that, something feels that from somewhere. And that something is your felt consciousness. You can't actually feel consciousness because it doesn't have a feeling. It's the thing that notices all feelings. But feel into yourself as if consciousness were your body right here. Feel into that and consider that a little practice for your day. And eventually you'll notice that that was always your body at all times. And all people have that experience as well. Anyway, let me know what worked for you the best here. If you want to go deeper, hit that subscribe button below, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.